Can you tell me your name and spell it?
My name is Leona Kleiner, Leona Kleiner.
And what was your name at birth, Mrs. Kleiner?
Leona Lubieniecka. I was born in Nowe Miasto, Poland. It's not far from Warsaw. My father was born in Nowe Miasto too. And he struggled. He used to go out to the villages and to provide for us, like he brought home some potatoes, some flour, some of this and some of that, to make sure that we have enough food to eat. But it was not enough, because we were a family of 7. We were 4 girls and 1 brother. My older sister's name was Hilda. The other one was Sarah. And then we had Anna and me. And I had a brother. He was 2 years younger, Shmuel. It was a very close family. My mother used to bake challis. She used to bake all kinds of goodies. My father came back from shul Friday night. He brought home somebody like a guest. And I remember my mother, she took off from every plate, she took off 1 spoon. Out of the 7, she made 8 plates. And I said to her, Ma, why are you doing that? She said to my child, if I'll take off a spoon from each plate, you see, it'll be an 8 plate. And that gentleman, he won't go home hungry. That was my mother. We were, I should say, not middle class. Let's put it on the poor side. And, but we didn't know that we were poor. But we had all the love and all the affection. We had everything. All the other things, it wasn't important to us. I went, it was a school, the public school, but it was a mixed school. The girls and the boys and Jews and Polacks. We had to learn the history, we had to learn geography, we had to learn to read, we had mathematics, the same as here.
Was there one thing that you enjoyed most?
No, I didn't enjoy any of them, to be honest. So the first bomb fell on a cemetery. I think it was a German cemetery. Then the Germans came in. The next day we had the Germans because we were right on the border, on the German border. The Germans came in and we started to suffer. It was hard for us. They made the ghettos right away. They brought in people like the Jews from different towns around our city. They brought everybody into our ghetto. We lived like a few families in one place, in one apartment. Apartment was a kitchen, a bedroom, and not even a bathroom. We had it outside the house. I had to wear the Jude around my arm, on my arm. Yellow star, and it was written Jude. On Yom Kippur, the Germans took out, everybody was praying, and the shul was in the ghetto. So the Germans went into the shul, and they took out those Jews, with the shawls, with the tallahs, and they had beard, the old people, very religious, they observed. And they took them in the middle of the town where the ghetto was. And they took a match and they lit their birds, you know, and everybody they were burning them and killing them and it was awful. People walked around like it's coming to an end. People didn't have a smile, and people passed away. They passed away, a lot of them. They couldn't take it anymore. Whoever was stronger survived. The weak person, the old person, the sick person couldn't make it. My father passed away in the ghetto. He died on a typhus. He was sick on typhus, and then he had gangrene in his. I worked at the German family. They were from Germany. I was like a housekeeper for them, and I was the cook for them. I remember I used to make the pork chops, to fry pork chops for them. But that couple, they were very nice to me because they had 2 children. And sometimes, whatever they had to throw into the garbage, they gave it to me to take it into the ghetto. I worked for that family till I left, till they cleaned out the ghetto. They came in and they said everybody has to leave the place, and everybody was in the middle of the town. And everybody took with them whatever they were able to carry. And they took us with trucks, they took us to the train. They didn't feed us, we didn't have food, we didn't have water, we didn't have anything. I don't remember how many days, but I know it wasn't too many. From Nowe Miasto to Auschwitz. They told everybody to get out. And we saw some people with stripes. They wore uniforms and stripes, but we didn't know who they were. And they helped us getting off the train. And then I remember it was one guy, but I remember him very. His name was Mengele. He was the one who selected us. He went over, whoever went off the train, so he selected right away, left, right. Left went right away to the gas chamber, and the right went into camp, to Auschwitz or Birkenau. Only the strong young people went to the right. They separated my mother from us. It was Hilda, Anna, and my brother, they took to the right. My mother went to the left. We walked into a camp. We didn't know what it was. But from far away we saw big chimneys and we saw flames. So we asked somebody, what's there? So they said they're baking bread for us. That was their answer. But it was a very funny smell. You had to stay in the line. And it was some girls. I think it was Hungarian, Romanian. They came to Auschwitz before us. And they shaved our heads, and they gave us those stripes to put on. And they tattooed our numbers. I was the first one, so I had 25, 7, 21.
And can you show me where those numbers were put on you?
Yes, right here. I took it off.
How did you take it off?
I went into the hospital for 3 days, and I was like 3 hours under the knife because it was very, very deep. So I took it out.
And when was this?
That must have been like in the 60s, the early 60s. Every morning we had to get up 4 o'clock in the morning. It was still dark, cold, rainy or snow or whatever. So we had to be out 4 o'clock, and we had to wait for the SS to come into camp and to count those people. So they had to do it when it was light. So we had to stay that long for many, many hours till it got light. And they came and then counted us, if it's 5 in a row. And of course they made selections too. They took out from the 5, sometimes they took out 2 girls, sometimes they took out 4, sometimes they took out 1. My sisters and I, we were in 1 row and 2 strangers. They took out the 2 strangers, but we remained. They didn't take us. They didn't even know that we are sisters. But it was pure luck. Then after that, they took us out. We marched, and we walked into the fields. What we were doing in the fields? We were digging. What we were digging, I don't know. Hunger is terrible. Starvation is terrible. It's very hard to explain the pain. My sister Anna, she used to go outside, and she used to go, those pipes from the canalization, and she used to suck the water. It was dripping and dripping and dripping, and that's how we had water. Barrack 21 was, if somebody had enough of living, somebody got tired with living, somebody didn't want to go any longer, so they went into that barrack 21. From that barrack, they took the people on a truck, and they took them to the gas chamber, and they gassed them. The men came in, and they took everything into a gas chamber where everything was gassed to make sure that there aren't any lice or any bugs or whatever. Then when this was gassed everything, they brought it back into our barracks. And we had to make bundles out. Let's say like 25 suits, 25 pair of pants. For the people who worked over there was a little bit better, because everything from the gas chamber, everything came to us. And we had to select everything, the clothing, we had to look for everything, we had to look for gold, for diamonds, for money, for everything we had to, it has to be checked out. And the people brought food with them. So like this, everything came to us. So we had onions, we had not potatoes because we couldn't cook, but we had bread. It was a little easier for us. We had soap. We were able to change underwear. We were able to wash ourselves more than in camp. It was the time when nobody watched us from the camp, the Lagerfeuer. So when we found the American dollars, we destroyed them. A lot of them. We made sure that no one would find it. We made sure. One day they made a selection for people to work, to go someplace, to send them someplace. And I was very lucky. They picked me out. And they took me into the sauna to shave my hair and to take a shower, because they had to send me someplace else. Where they were sending the people, nobody knew. Nobody knew where they're sending them. But my 2 sisters were left outside. They didn't take them. My older sister, Hilda, she didn't know where they're going to take me. And all those 3 years we used to be together, that was very hard on them. So they decided, what do they have to lose? They're going to go to the Lagerführer and tell him that we are 3 sisters, and we are here already for 3 years. Please take us into her or let her out, come out to us. So the Lagerführer said to her, what would you prefer? So she said she should come out to us. So sure enough, the Lagerführer was nice enough. He came into that Entlausungskammer, and he was calling my number 25721, which it means 25721. And when he called that my number, I thought, uh-oh, that's it. So then when I went over to him, I was trembling, I was nervous, I was scared, terrible. So he said to me, how long are you here in Auschwitz? I said, 3 years. Do you have somebody here? I said, yes, we are 3 sisters. So he said, would you like your sisters to come in here or to go out to your sisters? I said, I would prefer you to go out to them. And you know what? With my luck, he took me out and brought me over to my sisters. And none of the girls that were selected, none of them is alive. Until today, we don't know where they went and where they took them. It was a small place, and you were surrounded by 2 gas chambers, the chimneys and the flame and the smoke and the smell. Everybody had lice. The lice was eating up. You could have seen the irritation on the skin. And we had no hairs. Lucky, we were lucky that time we had no hair. But everything was irritated, everything was bloody, it was awful, awful. I wasn't in Brzezinki too long. I think in Brzezinki we must have been like 2-3 months. They put us on wagons, the open ones already. And we went from Brzezinki. They took us to Ravensbrück, which it was another camp. Then in Ravensbrück, I don't remember if we worked or we didn't, because we were only a few days over there. And then they took us from Ravensbrück to Malchow, which it was a camp too. And the same thing, I don't think, if I worked over there, because it wasn't a long stay. And from there, they didn't want to leave us. They put us on open trains. And they took us with them. Where they took us, I really don't know. That must have been like in March and in April. Then they took us with them. We were walking like, with the soldiers together. They were watching us, not with the soldiers, but they were watching us. And we were walking in Germany. We walked so far. God knows how far we walked. And you could have seen on the roads, the kids, the girls and the boys, they couldn't walk anymore, and everybody had a blanket around. And they were laying on the ends of the roads, everybody, dead bodies, living bodies. People couldn't walk anymore, so people lay down. The minute they lay down, booms, they killed them right away on the spot. And then we walked till finally, the Germans, like in May, end of April, they started to get a little, for charge it already, like they didn't know what it was going on anymore. So everybody the Germans, they started to run. And they left us. So we went into a forest. And in that forest, it was thousands and thousands and thousands of people like I. Men and women. It was Russians and Poles and Hungarians and Gypsies. and so many of them. So the three sisters, we walked into that forest. So a gentleman came over to us, and he said, "You know what, girls, I'm going to watch over you. Three girls, young girls." He was afraid. So he walked with us. That man, later on, he married my sister. And my husband was in that forest too, liberated, but I didn't know him that time. We were in that forest. All of a sudden, people started to run from the forest out on the road. They saw from far away tanks are coming. And they came closer and closer and closer to us. And we didn't know. They had flags, American flags. But we weren't sure because we were so afraid if it's not the Germans. So the soldiers jumped off from the tanks and they said to us, "You're not anymore under the Germans. We are American soldiers. You are free to go wherever you want." And we still didn't go. We still didn't go because we were afraid. But finally, after a while, we realized that they spoke German. We realized that, and they told us, they are Americans and soldiers, they were fighting for us and this and that. So then they said to us, "You know what, you're going to walk on the road. You'll walk till you'll come into a little town. The name is Schwerin. The Americans, they took care of us. They treated us very, very nice. They were very helpful. They brought us chocolates and cigarettes and bicycles, and they said, "Take from the Germans whatever you want. Take it from them. Kill them." But who could? They were very nice. And then I was in Schwerin. I was maybe 4 or 5 weeks. Then the British, they sent us to the British zone, the Americans. And we went to Lübeck by Hamburg. So I was, from that time till I came to the United States, I was in Lübeck. I met my husband in the DP camp in Lübeck, Samuel. I met him on a bus going from the town to the DP camp. So he got up and he gave me the seat on the bus. Then he asked me out. I got married October 27, 1946. The wedding, it was, my God, because we never dreamt, that we'll survive and we're going to meet boys and we're going to have a wedding, we're going to have an engagement party, and who dreamt? It was like a dream. We didn't know if it's a dream or it's reality. We didn't know what it was. That's when we started to live.
What did you know about the United States?
Not too much. First of all, we were very bitter at everybody because we were sure that people knew what it was going on over there. And it took a long time. We said, "My God, I have uncles here. My uncles don't do anything. I'm sure they knew what it was going on." But everybody was bitter because it took a little too long. My mother-in-law, she had family in the States, and they sent papers for all of us. My goals were this. When I came here, I was hoping to get an apartment, just one room, to be on my own, my husband and I. And for my husband to get a job, and I should be able to get the job, just to survive. We didn't look for any luxuries. And of course, to have a family. We were so hungry for a family. Then God was good to us. I got pregnant, and my husband had a job, and I gave up my job, and I had a tiny little small apartment, and I was in seventh heaven. I wouldn't switch places, my husband and I, with nobody. Nobody. When my daughter was 18 months old, I gave birth to a son, and I added another crib into the bedroom, and we were happy. My dog is named after my mother. And my mark is named after my father-in-law and after my father. In 1977, my husband and I and another couple, we went back. Just for a few days, because it was very hard on us, especially on my husband. We got into a shack, what we found. Couldn't recognize it. Couldn't recognize the shul, couldn't recognize the house where I was born and raised. Couldn't recognize the people. And people was wondering how comes, you lived through, everybody died. The Polacks. They said it to me. But it was hard, very hard. But for my husband, it was impossible. We had to run. I'm sure I forgot a lot, but it's very hard to remember everything. It's a very hard time for me, very hard. I still have terrible dreams.
What kind of dreams?
Running from the Germans, killing, gassing. This I'll never, I think if I'll ever get that over. Very nervous. It left a scar on everybody. My wish is my children should be well, my grandchildren should be well, and my husband and I, unfortunately, my husband's not here no more. I miss him every day, every moment, and I'll never stop loving him. But my husband's wish and my wish is to have a lot of nachas from our children and grandchildren. They shouldn't have to go through the same thing we went through. And I only hope and pray to God that it'll never, never, never happen again.